How to be one of the best bass players in the world? Well, Billy Sheehan of Mr. Big gives us his recipe. It's not a complicated one, but it does take a lot of time. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. Mr. Big, Eric Martin on lead vocals, Paul Gilbert on guitar and vocals, Bill Sheehan on bass and vocals, and Nick DiVirgilio on drums and vocals is closing out their 35-year career in a big way with a brand new live album. It's called The Big Finish. It's out now. There'll be links in the description where you can pick it up. And just before that, they released their 10th studio album, simply titled 10. Again, links to both will be in the description. Billy Sheehan was born on March 19, 1953 in Buffalo, New York. He's widely regarded as one of the most technically proficient bassists on the planet. First gained attention in the 1970s as a bassist for the progressive rock band Talas. They released several albums, including Sink Your Teeth Into That in 1982. That was their biggest. His innovative bass playing style, which of course incorporates that tapping technique and lightning fast runs, really earned him a reputation as a standout in the rock scene. Sheehan's big break came when he joined David Lee Roth's band after Roth left Van Halen. He played on his first two highly successful projects. The band also featured Steve Vai on guitar and Greg Bichonet on drums. It was those bass lines again with Roth that solidified his place as one of the top bassists in the world. In 1988, Sheehan co-founded the supergroup Mr. Big with guitarist Paul Gilbert, drummer Pat Torpey, and vocalist Eric Martin. And they quickly rose to fame, particularly on their 1991 album Lean Into It. That was their biggest. It featured the chart topper To Be With You, which was #1 in 15 countries around the world. The group released several other albums, including Bump Ahead in 93 and Hey Man in 96. Outside of Mr. Big, Sheehan has worked with various projects. He formed the band Niacin, an instrumental fusion rock group that combined jazz, rock, and funk, and their releases, Time Crunch in 2001 and Organic 4 years later. He's also worked with a lot of different players, including his old David Lee Roth bandmate Steve Vai, Tony McAlpine, and Mike Portnoy. There was also Sons of Apollo, and that debut album, Psychotic Symphony in 2017, to critical acclaim. Throughout his career, Sheehan has always been known not only as a technical player, but a guy who pushes the boundaries, which earned him multiple Best Rock Bass Player awards from Guitar Magazine. He's one of a kind.
Good, how are you?
You know what? What I like about you, you've always got the bass. It's like, I was talking to, years ago, I was talking to Daryl Sturmer. He told me this thing that I didn't know. I'm a drummer and not a good one. My son's really good. He told me he watches TV and plays along to things. And like, how often do you have that thing on you?
Almost always. When I was lived in my little apartment back in Buffalo, people would knock on the door. I'd answer the door with the bass on. They say, "Don't you ever put that thing down?" I said, "No, not really." And I remember I did a similar thing with the radio. I just put the AM radio on in early mid '60s, and just play along with every song that came on the radio and figure it out as we would go. And it was just it's a constant thing. And still now I practice hours every day.
How did it work for you when you first picked up the bass? Were there times where you let it go?
No, I pounded that thing from the very beginning. It was I was intensely interested in it. And if you look at as a comparative thing to look at classical players, I mean, they are practicing hours and hours and hours every single day. And we found out a thing early on, me and some of my musician friends, and they came up with a saying, if you skip a day, you know it. If you skip 2 days, they know it. So as far as your playing goes. And it is really true. When I get, I have to keep my hands in the same shape they are when I perform on tour live. And then you're playing 2 hours a night, every night, warming up for an hour or two every day, hitting it as hard as you can. Your calluses become as hard as rock, like steel, and your arms become strong, and you can do everything you need to do. Get off tour for 2 or 3 days, and it starts to dip almost right away. And I've known pretty famous players that say, I finished tour and I put my guitar away or bass away. I don't want to see it anymore. I thought I could never do that. I gotta keep at it, keep up to speed. So I'm always, and then you also have the opportunity if you're always trying to stay at a pretty good level, it's a good spot to be in creatively, because you'll come up with oh, I got an idea. What about this thing here that I probably would not have come up with if I was still trying to work my way back. So it's nice to like hang in that particular strata of your own best, or your own high level for you, which was different for every person, of course. But just to be in a creative spot, I think is a good thing as well.
I love the sound of this record. This is one of the best sounding live albums, and I love the videos and I love the covers.
Right.
Uh, Tell me about that.
Well, our mixer that we used, he mixed a lot of records for me through the years in the bands I've been in, and he's fantastic. Jay Rustin is his name. First Winery Dogs record. Normally, you send the mixer the record, and he does a mix. You send it back. You make some notes. Send it back to him. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Maybe 4, 10, sometimes 20 or 30 times. It's crazy. Jay sent us the record. We all went, done. It's good. We got it. And I was just so in love with how he treated the record. It was just fantastic. And I'd never met him before, so I saw him at a NAMM show, a trade show, a musical instrument trade show. Jay, what a pleasure to meet you, man. You have just did such a great job on my bass. I really love the way it sounds in the mix. I go, what did you do? And he said, well, I took the 3 faders, those 3 sounds that comprise my bass, put them all up to 0, which means no more or no less,
Yeah.
and never touched it. And that's how we got the tone. So I thought, well, that's what a validation of many things. If you think you got it and you're never sure you got it, for me on that record, I played what I played, and what I played came out, and what came out made me very, very happy. It's one of my favorite records I've ever played on. So he did this record, the Mr. Big Live, and he's just a great. He's just got a thing. He's done a lot of big bands, huge bands and stuff, and he's got a way. I don't know what it is, whatever his mojo or magic is, but he gets it in there. And I've been lucky to work with great producers and great mixers through the years. Jay is easily in that strata of you. There's none better than that, but it just depends on how what your personal taste is. Yeah. But he's certainly in that element where you're going to get an amazing mix from him.
You're one of those guys that you brought it to the forefront, and I know you've heard it a million times. Was that conscious, or were you going, is there more? What was the impetus for you to bring it out there?
Well, my impression of Paul McCartney, Tim Bogart, James Jamerson, Paul Samwell Smith, a lot of guys that I love, Chris Squire, through the years, Entwistle, they all had a voice, and that was an essential element of those bands. And so that struck me, and not that I'm trying to be essential to anyone else, but I just felt there was a spot for bass to move, and there is. And right now I'm in my studio. My engineer will be here soon, and we're about to launch on 10 songs that we have in the lineup to record. And we've recorded hundreds. At one point I thought it was about 600. It may be less than that during the pandemic. And we'd get it from, especially from non-professionals. We'd get disparate parts that were designed to be a song. And we had to play bass to it when we had no real anchor or grounding of what they were going for. So we'd add a bass line, and suddenly, and not because it's my bass line, but just by putting a bass in there properly, hopefully, it becomes a song. And we look at each other like, wow, this started out, we didn't know what we were going to do. I thought I was going to email the guy back and say, really sorry, but I can't do it. And we'd get a song. So the idea of the importance of a bass has always kind of been around me, as important as any other instrument. Drums, come on. Without drums, we got no time. Guitar, following the chords and the melody and the beautiful soloing. Vocals, they don't have network TV shows for bass players or guitar players, but they do for vocalists, for The Voice and for America's Got
Yeah.
Talent. It's about the voice. They're all extremely important. You could look at a hierarchy of importance, maybe, but without any one element, the rest kind of fall apart. And certainly that's true for bass. So from the early days, I was listening for the bass within the context of a song. And I noticed a lot of mixes, the bass is the loudest thing. Van Halen, bass is the loudest thing. I forgot what some pop song I was listening to the other day. I go, man, the bass, I'm thinking, is this a different mix? Because the bass is so loud, unbelievable. Oh, I think it was Brandy, You're a Fine Girl, What a Good Life You
Oh,
Would.
by Gallery.
Yeah. And bass is so loud. It's amazing how important it is. So that was kind of my perception at the time, maybe a misperception or maybe incorrect, but that the bass had a job to do other than holding down a root note. And in jazz, you were going to mention something about jazz. A lot of jazz players basically have the point of view that you are changing, with every bass note you do, you're changing the whole musical sonic structure of the song. So the soloists, you can make them sound way better than they actually are, though the jazz guys are pretty amazing, just by moving around. And I remember we would always call it the secret note. Start moving the bass to a different note, even though the soloist is playing in a particular key. Go to a harmonically proper key as a root note underneath them, and you change the character of what they're doing without them changing. So it always had the ability to do that as well. So bass is quite an important thing in all forms of music. Those low frequencies spell out root notes. By moving the root notes, you change what's above it completely. And it's true in classical, jazz, pop, rock, metal, and everything else, I believe.
Last time I talked to Brian Bromberg, we talked about Jocko almost the entire interview, to the point where I'm going, we have to do another interview to talk about your music. What was your impression of people like Jocko?
I instantly fell in love with the guy. The Jocko and Stanley years, when Jocko came out and Stanley, they were both just amazing. You know, I love them both dearly. And he was a guy who just kind of, you know, he's a pretty casual, just tore his frets off to become fretless, and just was a kind of a free spirit and a gypsy. But wow, within context of a band, Jocko's underlying bass was really an extremely essential part. And it became obvious. Some people, it's not so obvious, but it is as or even more essential. But sometimes some people pride themselves on being somewhat invisible as a bass player, which is an art in itself, where you're still influencing the whole melodic sense of the track. And some people are a little bit more noticeable. So it can be either way.
You borrowed a little bit of McCartney from To Be With You, huh?
I did. And that's just before they sing, I don't really want to stop the show, but I thought you might like to know. There's a little Paul McCartney, do, 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 do. And I took that right from him and put that right in To Be With You.
We know when the Winery Dogs came out with the first album, and I know it's been said again 1,000 times, but when I first heard that, I was so thirsty for a great rock album with so many other elements to it. There was just something about that record. That's one of your favorites, right?
Yeah, my big three, Eat 'Em and Smile, the first Winery Dogs, and Lean Into It by Mr. Big. I should probably have a five in there because I got a lot of records. The 1985 by Talas, I'm going to have to stick that in there too. But yeah, the first Winery Dogs record was just because we just flew without any grounding or discussion. We just kind of, hey, what about this? Bang, there's a song. What about this? Hey, one of my favorite songs on that record, Regret. Richie had two songs, and they both work really well together, but they weren't combined. And so after the solo ends, we kind of go into what the other song was, but he changed the lyrics around to put them together, and really cool. I love that record very much.
Bobo O'Reilly, what a freaking like get the hell out of my way! I'm going to get you a speeding ticket kind of song. I love that.
Great. Yeah, I'm a huge Who fan. I saw them with Keith Moon on one of their early tours, early 70s. And I've always been a Nat fan. We, in Talas, one of our go-to show-stopping performances was the Live at Leeds medley, starting with My Generation, going into See Me, Feel Me, and ending with I forgot what it ends with, but we did that whole section of the record all in sequence as the record was, and it was a kind of a showstopper for us. So I've always been heavily into the Who. John Entwistle, I became an acquaintance of his when he was living in L.A. One day I was in the Rainbow and John came in and sat with me. Then Chris Squire came in and sat with me. Somebody took a photo. I've still got that. Then Lemmy joined us. Somebody took a photo of that. They put it on the wall and somebody stole it. So I don't have the one with Lemmy in it, but I have the one with Chris Squire and John Entwistle and myself. And I posted that a couple times, and it was quite wonderful to be amongst those two groundbreaking giants of bass. Pretty amazing.
Cat Stevens' Wild World. My God. Yes. I never expected, though, like I think of fans who would not know the band that well. But that's a crowning achievement for me. I love that.
I'm so glad. Yeah, I was a big fan of Cat Stevens. Catch Bullet 4 and Miles from Nowhere back in the Peace Train days when he first came out. It was really a great artist. I enjoyed very much his songwriting. And I think we're on the Bump Ahead record. After Lean Into It, we go to the record company and they wanted another To Be With You.
Yeah.
And we said, well, we can't just, you can't just stamp, rubber stamp songs and try to imitate. It was kind of disheartening to us, so that we got that kind of direction from the label. And so we go in, and Paul had a song that had the line dee doo 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 dee doo 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 doo, but the dee doo 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 is Wild World. So I mentioned, wait, that sounds like the Cat Stevens song. So we started fooling around with it, and we came up with it. So we changed keys. And when you listen to the original track, there's kind of a hi-hat over here and one snare hit over here. There isn't really a band ensemble track. It's a collection of sounds. It's beautiful, amazing, but it isn't like a straight-up guitar, bass, drum, vocal. So we kind of made it into that a bit too. And I used the second Attitude bass I ever got from Yamaha, the second prototype, a red one. And it had a real whine to it that was almost like fretless. And a very famous fretless player, a friend of mine, when he heard the song on the radio, he called me, "Hey, you played fretless on Wild World. That's so great." I go, "It's not fretless." So I would always do a lot of bands that sounded kind of fretless. So I'm glad that I fooled him, because he's quite an amazing player. And but yeah, it was a huge hit, and we had kind of a controversy about it initially, because it was during the beginnings of some of the Islam troubles with some terrorism and stuff like that. And Cat Stevens had since converted to Islam, and but I didn't have a problem with the religion overall. Of course, nobody likes terrorism. But a couple of American radio stations got a little pissy with us, like, "Hey, wait a minute, you're supporting terrorism by..." No, this is Cat Stevens, man. I doubt very much he's turning his paycheck over to munitions for terrorism. And so we actually stuck up for him and said, he's a great artist or whatever. Unknown to us, in Indonesia, which is the largest Islamic country, somebody from America stuck up for one of theirs, and they loved that. So we went back to Indonesia and played that song. People went out of their minds because somebody, because and Indonesia, I've been there many, many, many times. Great, sweet, wonderful people. They're Muslims, but there's different degrees of intensity in all religions of the zealots and just the people that just want to have a better life. And very much Indonesia is very much like that. So we had we were their heroes because we stuck up for one of them. So it was a happy ending.
Remember, if you want to help out the channel, it's been a crazy time for YouTube in the last almost year. A lot of creators are quitting because the income is all over there and all the way down there, unfortunately. So it's very unstable. If you want to donate to the channel, there is a PayPal link at the very top of the description. Also, join our Patreon. You'll get early access to our videos. And you can also help the channel by buying a t-shirt or a jacket or a cap with our logo on it. There's a link, again, at the very top of the description. But subscribe to our channel. And when you subscribe, this is the most important thing. If you subscribe, please click on the bell notification. That's really the only way you'll always be told about our videos. If you're already a subscriber, press on that bell notification. Comment on our videos, like them, and share them on social media. I'm John Bowden. More from Billy Sheehan in the next few days. This is Rock History Music. Take care of yourself.